Today we are going to focus on rules related to personal fouls that are targeting in nature or involve hits on defenseless players. These have been points of emphasis by the Rules Committee for the past several years, and those points of emphasis will continue. Targeting fouls are addressed in Rules 913 and 914. One deals with using the crown of the helmet to target opponents by contacting them on any body part, and the other deals with targeting the area of the head and neck. While the latter often deals with the helmet, targeting under this rule also includes using the forearm, elbow, or shoulder. In simple terms, one deals with the specific means used to target an opponent, while the other deals more with the area that is actually targeted. In addition to targeting fouls, we also want to review actions that are fouls against defenseless players that are covered in Rules 9112A and B. These involve receivers when a pass is not catchable, or they occur in areas away from the immediate action around the football, which is why it is so important for us to focus on our mechanics and areas of responsibility throughout a play. Very often, these actions would not rise to the level of a foul, except that players well away from the action are obviously out of the play and are afforded protection that players more directly involved in a play do not have. Rule 913 deals with using the crown of the helmet against an opponent. While many of these actions are directed at the opponent's head, the intentional use of the crown of the helmet to punish an opponent is illegal regardless of where he is hit. This is also a dangerous act by the player committing the foul, as serious injury can occur to the head, neck, or spine. As we look at examples of fouls in this area, pay special attention to positioning and keys. Most often, when these are missed, we are either not looking in the area we should, or we fail to see the actions that precede the foul, which, if we will get used to reading the body mechanics of players as they prepare for these hits, we can learn to recognize these as they develop. Let's look at Article 4, dealing with targeting an opponent in the head or neck area. With attention to concussions and the effect of contact to the head on the rise, rules have been written to help players and coaches alter techniques to avoid, to the extent possible, unnecessary contact to the head and neck area. While hits can occur with great force, players must avoid acts that are clearly the intent to target opponent's eye. Simply put, to avoid the risk of injury as well as the risk of a foul, players must learn to lower their target zone. Rule 914 also carries the specific instructions to officials that when in question as to whether contact is to the head or neck area, a foul will be called. This means that even in some situations where final analysis of video might show that contact may not meet all the requirements of a foul, in live speed during a game, officials must react to what they see from the angle they see it, and we will instruct officials to make these calls in an effort to enforce the Rules Committee's intent relative to this rule. While we have made great progress in both the administration of this rule and in developing techniques to avoid these types of dangerous hits, the Rules Committee continues to place emphasis on this aspect of the game. If players and coaches do not want to increase the risk of fouls being called, then they must learn to lower the target zone and avoid these types of collisions. Hits can occur legally with great force, and we will now look at some examples of players lowering their target zone away from the head and neck area. Players can be effective without exposing themselves or their opponents to catastrophic injury. All of us must work together to play legally within the rules, and we encourage players, coaches, and officials to study these examples of legal action to help reduce the impact that illegal high hits can have. Occasionally we will make a mistake and call a foul when there is only incidental contact of helmets. In football, helmets will sometimes contact. Here both players are making a bona fide play for the pass and their helmets contact. There is no intent to target or use the helmet as a weapon, and even though contact can be severe, no foul should be called in this situation. Rule 9112 deals with hitting players who are obviously out of the play. It does not matter if the ball is live or dead. Players who are not making an obvious attempt to involve themselves in the play are protected from unnecessary contact, as well as receivers when the ball is obviously uncatchable or overthrown. This is not only contact to the head and neck, but any intentional action that is unnecessary in nature against a player who is clearly out of the play must be called. This requires great discipline in mechanics, and we must stay focused in our area of responsibility to officiate this action. Here there may be some debate on whether this action rises to the level of a foul, but it is a good play example to discuss which official or officials are continuing to work this action and would be responsible. Too often, as soon as the ball is in the air, we make the mistake of all downfield officials going to the ball, and that is not going to be the case, especially as here when the ball is clearly thrown to the top side of the field. Whenever contact is imminent on our receiver responsibility, safety takes precedence over the ball, and we have to stay with this action to determine if a foul is committed or not.